What a song should be and how it should be put together. Joe, we just did all. Y'all have no idea how good this feels. I've always wanted to be a part of Motown. Man, I adopted Motown. I couldn't wait for them to adopt me. I adopted Motown, and I said I was going to live up to what I should be if I was ever at Motown. That's why I'm still around. This here makes me satisfied. And then we passed over again, right from the beginning, Sidney Barnes, and a host of other people I've seen tonight that I haven't seen in 40 years. Wow. On behalf of my family, my wife, and all the good people out here that I've known over the years, thank you. Thank you.
But, can you get up here in 1 minute? Where are you? Y'all come sit me up here, he's small. He's coming! Throw him up here on the stage.
And then I remember he came and saw at me, and he was like, "Oh, this is much better than Motown." And I mean, this whole Northern Soul, Rare Soul adventure we went on, that was one of the records that kind of started our musical adventure. And yeah, so thank you very much for that. That was amazing. We've got the Golden World clock here, courtesy of Denise and Dan. I'm just wondering, an obvious question: can you talk about the early memories of Golden World, Detroit in the 60s, working with Sidney, Pat and Mike Terrick, and how you got there from New Jersey, and what it was like working with Ed Wingate, the whole thing?
Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, before we came here, back in New York, Sidney and myself worked for Joe Beck in the Brill Building. And we were doing demos for Joe Beck, trying to get hooked up with Motown. Gene Red was the producer at the time in New York, doing a lot of stuff on Inez and Charlie Fox and a whole lot of other acts you might know. He brought me to Detroit to meet Mr. Ed Wingate, the owner of Golden World. I met him and I told Sidney, we got a job. Let's go to Detroit. Sidney was already cool with Barry and Motown, so he wasn't as scared as I was. So we came out here, the first day we got here, Mr. Wingate took us to meet his favorite girl, Miss Pat Lewis. He said, I'm gonna make y'all my Holland Doja Holland. And at one moment was Mike Terry. And we called it what, Joseph Mike? Yeah, I think that was the name of the production company. Yeah. Joseph Mike. And from then, it started. Golden World Rick Tape, we met Al Kent, and Richard Morris, and Don Davis. That was the crew there. They had the Dramatics, which was a baby group at the time. The Debonaires, who I saw this morning, singing, ooh, baby, oh, baby. And Mr. Wingate put us to work. He put us in the Algiers Motel right down the street. cut a hole in the wall and brought a brand new grand piano in there. And that was the beginning of Golden. Well, it wasn't the beginning because they had been, I guess, a couple of years prior to that.
You know, we had started in Joanne's basement. Joanne Bradley's basement. You know, when you all got here, the studio was up. Yeah, the studio. Yeah, we just finished it, and they had little rooms, you know, where you could go and write production rooms. But a lot of things couldn't go on as far as recording because we had some glitches. When you flush the toilet, it'll come out on the track. So they had to fix that, you know. But George here would. Yeah, but when George and him came over, you all were in the Algiers during the riot, right?
No, we hadn't got out by that time.
Okay, the Dramatics some of them were there, yeah. Yeah, the Dramatics. The original Dramatics was Pound. Yeah, Squirrel, Vamp. Can't think of the other one. Was it Ouija?
Ouija.
The original?
Ouija wasn't in the original.
He wasn't there.
Oh, the bass.
I thought Squirrel was the...
Squirrel was there.
Yeah, Squirrel, Vamp, Pound, Ronnie.
What's the one that's alive now?
Willie Ford.
Willie Ford.
Yeah, he
But I think they said, well, maybe he was there.
They was also, they wasn't 15.
Yeah. Did you all ever hear Bingo by the Dramatics?
Yeah, that was Mr. Wingate's name for them, the Bingo Boys.
Yeah. Ronnie sounded like oh my God, his voice was so high, he sounded like a little girl. But it was a good record.
I used to teach them their routines when we first came out here. That was my job.
Oh yeah,
George
could dance.
Put the routine together, and the first thing he did was send me on tour with the Holidays. I Love You Forever, and Precision, who wasn't from Golden World. I think they was from Cedra.
Yeah, they were from Cedra.
I don't know how I remember this shit. But yeah, I just thought of that. I saw one of them here yesterday. But I went on road with the Holidays and the Precisions, took them to the Howard Theater, Apollo, and the Uptown. So I had my tour as road manager for a while.
Did you go to the Regal?
Yeah, the Regal Chicago? Yeah, Regal. And that was my job. I had many jobs. I had to fly home on Thursday evening for the Friday in the barbershop, Saturday in the barbershop. Sunday I'd fly back to Detroit. And it went on like that for a year and a half.
You know, the best times of my life was working with this man here, George Clinton, because when I first met him in the barbershop, years before we were with Motown, I knew it was something special with him. And of course, I always knew it was something special with me. And I was always looking for guys to hook up with that I felt were super talented. And the guy I hooked up with was George Kerr. George was a nice guy, but he wasn't super talented. But when I met George Clinton, the whole game changed, and we ended up being friends from then on to now. And I had something to do with him getting into Joe Bad, which was part of Motown. He brought me into Golden World, and you know, so through the years I've been continuously working with him. I worked with him on his last album, the Mothership album, Chocolate City album. You know, yeah, I just love working with this guy because he inspires me, and I guess for him to allow me to work with him, I must inspire him a little bit. And Pat Lewis was a doll baby. She was a young girl. How old were you then back in Golden World, Pat?
Younger.
And we did say, I want y'all to produce something on my girl here, Pat. So we did Can't Shake It Loose. Was that the one he locked us in the basement?
He had two titles. He had two titles for us. He said, I'm into something, I can't shake it loose. And I bet you. I said, Mr. Wingate, that's two songs. That's two songs that we gave Pat, Shake It Loose, and Teresa Lindsay. I bet you. And we were off to the running then. I mean, we was, but like Sidney said, what's the girl, Gloria Gaynor? Back in Jersey. Yeah, it was Gloria. Yeah, Gloria Gaynor. Yeah, I was one of the people that he was working with back then, and Serenaders.
Yeah, oh man, that's a whole nother life before.
So all that stuff is coming to me now, but Golden World was the day where Pat Lewis sang on everybody's record. She do her job at Golden World, then she go over to Motown along with the extra Andante, and you hear her on everybody's record. I mean, all the way to Jackie Wilson, whispers getting louder. Yeah, higher and higher.
Mr. Wingate, there was a DJ here, Martha Jean the Queen. And that was what she'd say every morning. I'm into something I can't shake loose. I bet you.
The Wingate stole the title.
No, he wanted you guys to write. He told her that he was going to have something written for her. And that's how you all came back.
That's how we got so much airplay.
Yeah, that's how you got. I ain't finished talking.
A quick funny story. I don't know which song it was, George might remember, but Mr. Wingate had really, really weird ways of making us write a song. He took me and George over his house, locked us in the basement with 1 or 2 dogs, very big old Doberman or whatever they were. And he said, y'all, I want y'all to write, you're not coming out of this room till you write me some songs. And if you try to get out of the room, I got the dogs here. So we were in there writing, we got tired, so let's sneak out. And we got up to go towards the door and the dog went, so we sit back down, wrote a couple more songs.
That was Our Love Is in the Pocket. That was Darryl Banks, JJ, and Darryl Banks. Yeah, because it's the B-side of Open the Door to Your Heart, yeah. So there's a lot of funny stories, Mr. Wingate. You wake up in the morning and he's standing over you. I got a new idea.
Great big man.
Scared the shit out you. So, he was the most beautiful person you ever want to meet in your life, though. And so was Joanne.
Yeah, Joanne.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Joanne was she was his confidant, and she was really, I think, the music person in the tree, between the two. And Wingate wanted to be like Berry Gordy. He said, "You be you, I'm gonna be Berry Gordy, and Joanne gonna be like a Ray Gordy." And it didn't quite work out that way because Berry was a real record man. Berry was writing songs, producing songs. He would never do that. But he, like you say, he was a great guy. But he was like 8 feet tall, real dark skinned, and big fella. And we'd wake up in the morning, me and George's roommates at the hotel, and we'd wake up in the morning and he was standing there saying, "I'm into something I can't get the heck out of, you know." So you knew you had to write something to please him, and I think that made us stronger.
Yeah. You want to ask another question?
Yeah. In the book, George, you make a big point about calling yourself a failed Motown act. You didn't get signed to Motown. You did the audition and didn't make it. Was that something that made you at Golden World and Rebel Lot to show Motown they were wrong?
Yes, definitely, that was the point. Because you wanted to be with Motown. That was the main thing. You wanted to be with Motown. So when we couldn't get in there, and Sidney and them was at Joe Bett in New York, and they closed us down. We didn't have no place to go anywhere. But Gene Red said we'd go to Detroit, and we came to Detroit and do a record for Mr. Wingate. We was going to show Motown that they should have kept us. They should have kept us while they had us. And
Did a good job with that. Bob Hamilton, those Hamilton brothers, we had a group. I was singing in a group called the Adorables. And Martha and the Vandellas had Heat Wave, but we had deep freeze. So we had something, we had a J.J. Barnes for the Marvin Gaye. We had an Edward Starr that was in a category of his own. And, they couldn't wait to get a hold to Edwin, after the sale came down. Yeah.
I was wondering, guys, Motown, over the years, have released lots of previously unavailable records. Golden World haven't really, and also, George, you were telling me that with Gene Red and Stephanie, you made lots of up-tempo soul records that we love. What happened to all those recordings? Why didn't they come out?
Well, you had to be, it was the type of thing, whatever regime was working at a company, they gonna put out the records that they make. Anything that was done by the previous generation of executives goes in the can. And until somebody come along like you guys and make that stuff classic.
Would there be many unreleased Golden World recordings?
Oh, there's lots of them.
They're stuck at Motown.
There's lots of them that went to Motown didn't take but a couple of acts. I mean, they didn't take them and put them out, but they got their records. When Edwin was one of them, ourselves, JJ was one of them.
I had a choice.
Yeah, right. We didn't want to be there after we hadn't been there the first time. We knew you had to be in Detroit for that to work. So we went on and just bootlegged our own version of music for my mother. Whoa, ha, hey, we just did that. We just did that one out of left field. And LeBaron Taylor, who was a friend of Mr. Wingate, put a record. We did it for Mr. Wingate, really. I want to testify, but he knew he was selling the company. He didn't put that with Motown. LeBaron Taylor put it out. So we had, what was that? Parliament was I Want to Testify. Yeah, All Your Goodies Are Gone, and all of the songs that I've been hearing here lately, all those songs. But, right, I Can Feel the Ice Melting. Yeah.
You mentioned Darryl Banks and Open the Door to Your Heart and Albums in the Pocket, regarded as one of the greatest ever double-sided soul records. But Darryl Banks is only credited for writing that one song. Was that some kind of business scam, as you refer to in your book, or did he genuinely just write the one great song?
I don't know what the relationship was with, because him and Mr. Wingate didn't get along too good. That was LeBaron's artist, like Edwin, who was fire on the stage. I mean, they were fire. Their bands was always hot, both of them, Edwin and yeah.
In your book, you list loads of financial shenanigans. I mean, financial problems.
Oh, God. Shenanigans.
So what was Detroit like in the 60s? Did artists ever get paid? Did labels rip everybody off? Or was that two general things?
You got to remember, the record business was still a baby. No, everybody was hustling, trying to make records on welfare. You just got to work and you got money. You didn't even know anything about getting paid yet. That wasn't even a concept. Only a few people, what is 55? That's when it started. That's 10 years. So that is just coming. It's like street dope. It's just like hustling on the street. It took a long time before it started actually becoming a business. Matter of fact, after the groups from Europe came over and we started seeing those big production deals, and hearing that, then you started getting groups like Sly Stone, who was a record executive artist. You got the hint that you're supposed to get paid. So then you started going back and trying to figure out what publishing meant, songwriting, and they didn't have no set rules. Only the people that really did it as a career really knew the particulars, the Carol Kings, the Don Kirsch, all the Brill Building people that did it just for songwriting. They pretty much understood it. Artists didn't, all you want to do is get a record out.
Right, we
Was there no management? Was there no lawyers involved who you could trust, who could guide you?
Lawyers and managers pretty much end up working for the record company. That's the way it is. You tell your artist, they tell a manager, you tell your artist to be cool and we take care of you. You can bring us another artist. You know, that way the managers and lawyers, they stayed in business and they just ran it like a mill. New artists, certain lawyers could get you a deal, certain managers could get you a deal, only if they sell you out. Very few people had a manager that would go the distance with you. You know.
I mentioned Don't Be Sore at Me, and Track Records released a lot of the Revilot and Rick stuff. I think you told me before that Kit Lambert, who managed The Who, he came over to Detroit and with his ladies did all the records. What was that like? Because obviously that was a different world from what you were used to.
Her name was Nancy Lewis. She came over from Track Records, but she's from the States. No, I guess she was from Europe first, but she was living in New York. She was a friend of my lawyer, Ida Malbeck. She came to Detroit and was the first one that I saw buying up all of these 45 that didn't sell, all the flops and the B-sides of records that did sell.
So everyone in there has written a name down. I'm trying to track it down now on Facebook.
Her name was Nancy Lewis, and she worked for Track Records then, Kit Lambert. That's how I ran into The Who, matter of fact, Parliament, Jimi Hendrix, and Pat Lewis had a record together. I only know if Pat knew about it. It came out on Track Records. It was the same one that we did. We did a version, you did it. I'll wait. Yeah, it's on the same label on Track Records with Jimi Hendrix, The Who, and Parliament.
See how they do me?
Well, it took me years to find out. When I ran into, like what he said, I ran into Nancy Lewis. That was the beginning of what y'all call now Northern Soul. She was the first one that started collecting those records, bringing them back to Europe. That would have been 67.
Wow.
Matter of fact, right after Testify came out.
Hello, Miss Lewis.
Hello.
Mr. Clinton. It's a pleasure to see you again. Some years ago, back in 1977 in Detroit, I was walking down Woodward Avenue, and a gentleman walked up to me, touched me on my shoulder, and said, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" And I turned around, and I looked at him. I said, "Wow, this guy looks familiar." I was working at Lewis the Hatter.
That's what we bought all those suits at.
And so he said, "Hey," he said, "What's your name, brother?" I said, "My name is Freeman, Mike Freeman." And this gentleman said, "Hey, man, I think we fam cousins." And he said, and I'm gonna be coming over there. Were you right across the street? We were right across from Lewis House. And and he said, "Hey, man, well, I'm Clinton, George." And the question is, I've been all these years with Ancestry.com and everything, Mr. George Clinton, my brother. He said, "Man, you know what? I think we cousins. I got some friends in my family." I just want to ask you, are we cousins?
You probably have to ask my wife this, because she tracks everybody down on that Ancestry.com, so she'll let you know if you are.
Yeah. Another question from the audience? I'll go over here.
Hi, George and JJ. We own the clock. We went in an auction probably about 18 years ago. We were bidding to get something from Japan, and we wanted to keep it in Detroit where it belongs. And I just have a question, because Ron Banks used to come in. He was a friend of ours, and he used to tell us stories about the clock and how it used to hum and they used to have to unplug it when they used to record. Is that true?
You pretty much had to unplug everything.
I guess it was really loud.
It made noise. Yeah, it made noise. Yeah. It was definitely the symbol.
Pat, I've got a question. I was saying when you performed No One to Love, Pat,
Yes.
I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was the most...
What?
No One to Love. Right, this might explain it. What was it like in the studio when George made the record? And why? What was special about George as a producer?
Well, George didn't do No One to Love. Eddie Anderson.
I think George wrote it, didn't he?
Huh? No,
Oh,
George
I was gonna say.
was our Wait, Can't Shake It Loose. When we went over to Solid Hitbound with LeBaron Taylor and Don Davis, that's when you wrote, Sidney did my second single, Look at What I Almost Missed.
Yeah. Okay then, so on the records that George did make, what was special about George as a producer?
Oh, he's easy to work with. He's very easy to work with, and then he lets me be creative. He lets me do, and I can also fire him too. If he's not doing it right, I'm like, somebody go to him, he said, well, she just fired me, so what am I going to say? Yeah, but he's very easy to work with him, and we collaborate excellent together. Baby, I owe you something good.
Right. When I did want to say something, I always put it on Sidney. When I want to have a suggestion, I put it on him because I have a way of singing atonal. He can put you on the note that's really the note. I'll be giving you something I'm feeling, and you have to feel that before he,
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what's special. The feeling, because you can read all day long and not have the feeling that the music needs, See, if I wasn't hoarse, I'd sing something for y'all right now. Show you some feel.
Do it anyway.
Hi. Okay.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't shake it loose.
Don't be so at me. But entitled to one mistake.
Hey, and if you're so at me,
My little heart would surely break. No, y'all.
I'm out for the check that my heart couldn't cash. My mind was in much confusion. I was making an unjust conclusion.
If a little caution had been taken,
Go ahead,
I was mistaken. Darling, forgive me, please.
Come on, y'all.
Don't be sore at me. Love's entitled to one mistake. Hey, and if you're sore at me,
My little heart will surely break.
So I have another question here from a local yokel.
Hi, Mr. Clinton. This is my nose. Question is way after the 60s. I would like for you to explain to me, because I love it, the character of Sir Nose.
Okay,
I love it.
to put it like this, Sir Nose was derived from a friend of mine that was in another group that y'all probably know about, the Delarks, from Plainfield, New Jersey. Sammy Campbell and the Delarks. One of the guys in the group name was Berkeley Othello Noel. We used to call him Noel. And he was, all the girls liked him, he could sing real good, nice looking guy, but he was crazy. He'd get, to put it like this, his car pulled up in front of the barbershop one day on a nice hot day. Everybody at the barbershop was looking out the window at him. His car stalled right in front of the barbershop. He would jump out, and his voice goes like this. Oh, I hate you! I hate you! That was his character. When we'd have what we call gang fights, everybody would be, boxing, like doing whatever they're doing. He would be on roller skates. With a straight razor. It's very crazy now. I mean, when I say on his car, when he's streaming his car, when it stopped, he jumped out with his knife, stabbing the car. The knife slides up in and cuts his finger, and he darts off down the road. All you would see was his tail of his coat go around the corner. Ow! 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 And you come back, you see him the next day like nothing happened. And you say, you crazy. You crazy the motherfucker. That was the character that was so intense that I remembered him all the time. I had to give him to certain those. That's where their voice come from.
So we have another question here. Another local yokel. I was curious, you had songs like All Your Goodies Are Gone, which were using instrumentation that was a little bit psychedelic before psychedelic was even in the language of music lexicon. And you had songs like I Betcha where the rhyme scheme just goes away. It starts to rhyme, but then by the end of it, it's just like, you know. And harmonies that were not necessarily typical vocal group harmonies when you look at the Temptations versus the Parliaments. And I just want to know, as writers and producers and arrangers, were you guys specifically looking to be outside of the box, or did it just happen that way?
No, we bought a ticket to ride. By the time we got All Your Goodies Are Gone, Testify came out right with the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, Cream, Sly. All of them came out in '67. We saw then that psychedelic was happening. First thing we did was on J.J. Barnes, Day Tripper. That was the way we tested our ability to go there, because everybody thought we was crazy then for real, just with Day Tripper. But it really worked around Chicago, Detroit, so we knew it would work. Parliament, we just had Testified, so we had to change style real quick, because as soon as we got out there, we saw the Temptations was over with already. That it was Beatles and all of this new music that was coming. So we immediately, with All Your Goodies Gone, we did it too quick because the R&B station didn't know what the hell we were doing. You know, Testify was just one of those ones that felt good and it worked, but All Your Goodies Are Gone, they thought we were totally crazy. And we realized then that that wasn't it. So I started taking the band and going into the studio, and we do Whoa, Ha, Hey. We started the chants that we would do on stage. Those was working better than the songs we was trying to write. All the vamps, so I started taking the vamps from all the songs that we do on stage and just go in the studio and turn the guitars up. I saw Russ Tarana in there yesterday. He was the engineer at that time. Matter of fact, he thought we was crazy. But it worked so good around Detroit. He got a job at Motown. And they started doing the Temptations, Psychedelic Shack. And so we realized then that we had something, we just wasn't big enough. So instead of me making it milder, I wanted to make an impression that was going to be forever. So the next one was Free Your Mind, Your Ass Will Follow. That whole album was just one psychedelic jam. We was tripping our ass off and we just went for it. We knew Magarey was one after that. But that was the beginning of going way out there to put our fingerprint on that so we wouldn't have to be in a bag, which means every record you put out have to be a hit single. I didn't go after singles anymore, I went after albums. So if there was a single on there, you was lucky, because most of them was going to be too long. Or we're going to say something stupid that you couldn't get it on the radio. We did that a lot, like you said, a lot. Pat, matter of fact, I tell you a good story. Pat left us at that time. We was getting ready to go on the road. She would have been on the road with us, but we had went so crazy at that time. She said, no. She went to Memphis, and they ended up teaching Ike the same thing we were doing. I look around and saw Isaac Hayes looking just like me. And Pat Lewis had did it. She had dressed him in everything.
One thing I like about George Clinton, I've always loved about him, was he was different. When I met him, like I said, I knew he was special. And at that time, black writers were basically writing about screwing and being in love, and I want to do you all over and that. And I was getting tired of that. So I started writing like Lennon and McCartney. That's how I got in Rotary Connection. But George, the reason we became so close as writing partners was I was thinking abstract. I don't want to write about I love you like all the black guys were saying, yeah, baby, baby. George said it a different way, and I wanted to say it a different way. And we used different words. George came up with the word worrations. Worrations got a hold on you. You know, stuff like that is so different, and only George Clinton could do it. He did it with the dressing, he did it with his production. If nobody else was doing it, George said, let's try it. You know, and I was always in for that. So I said, I think I did so much, I did more stuff with you than I did with anybody I know, because I just love the different changes that you accepted and that you created, my friend.
You know, we used to, Hot Buttered Soul, which is myself, my sister Diane, and Rose Edwards, you know, we sang everything with George. We didn't have a name, we was just a group. And we sang everything with him. We used to do his shows with him at the 20 Grand, and we go on stage barefoot with rings on our toes. And we had so much fun, but I'm going to tell you what was happening in the audience. You had, this is the way Norman Whitfield used to sit in the booth. But he had a tape recorder down there. And the next thing you know, that's where all that psychedelic Cloud 9, all that stuff came from, because he was down there recording the show. But he was doing it. That's how you did it.
That always let me know that we were on the right track. It never bothered me. If the Temptation gonna do something that we, you know, our style, I'm feeling good. We on to something. But that probably was the drugs at that time. Later on, I found out you really needed some money.
We've got another question from back here.
I'd just like to know, where did the influence come from P-Funk and Mothership Connection? Where did that come from in your head?
Mothership, once I saw the Beatles doing Sgt. Pepper, the Who did their big production, what was that, The Wall? No, Pink Floyd, I meant Pink Floyd. Once I saw the big production of what that could do, what that could be like with Pink Floyd, I knew then that I wanted to do something that could be a Broadway play. Most of our friends was in the play Hair. We knew everybody in that one. But before that was West Side Story. If you worked in New York, you knew when that came out, that was the big musical. That was where I was trying to go with, at one point, with the singing, you know. So when we got to the Mothership, I knew that I had to do something. We had did Chocolate City already. So being black was pop at that time. So I tried to find another place you wouldn't find black people. And that was Outer Space. You had Aurora, who was on Star Trek, that was the only one. So I figured it would be kind of hip to have a pimp ride through space, and, you know, in a spaceship leaning, you know, hyperspace and all that. It ended up being a cool idea because I spiked it with a little bit of jazz, because Bernie could play all that, the classical jazz stuff. Funk, which was like James Brown. Bootsy had just got with us, so he brought the whole James Brown concept with him. So it was the perfect time to change from the psychedelic, from Motown to psychedelic, from psychedelic back into the pop music, because we had stopped wearing pretty suits and things and started wearing diapers and sheets and anything else. It was time to change that again, but I didn't want to go back to suits. We had to end up doing Larry Legaspi, who made all the costumes for Broadway. Hair, cats. He did all the designing of the costumes. So ourselves, Patty LaBelle, we were at the same manager and everything. We both got our costumes made at the same time. Then later on we tried to kiss on to it. But I was going into that outer space concept. I had to have some suits that, unlike anything else anybody wore. So those suits, you could only afford them for a picture, but they was like $30,000 for Irwin Tails. You know, we could only wear them 2 times for animal rights people. They made us get rid of them. We had to go back and get some fake fur. You know, but we was going as expensive as we could go. Because that was we went from the grimy, funky look. Now we're going back into something sharp. It had to be cool. Leather, foxtail, urban tails, and all of that. The mothership was meant to be out of this world. And that's what we did with it.
George also created a term. After that, black acts realized the suits were out, and then George had done the space thing, so they just said, what else can we do? Let's be different, like our idol George. And so everybody started just going on stage wearing nothing. I mean, just average clothes, because George had like 30, 40 people on stage with him at times when he was going out, and they was all just dressed from whatever they went on the street. That's when the rap guys started, and they started wearing the stuff they wore on the street. That started that, because that was unheard of back in the day. I mean, you had to have a suit. You had to be sharp or different. But these guys just started wearing, so that started a whole new trend too. I don't know whether you was aware of that, but that was your fault too.
We've got another question here, please.
Let me start. My first thing I want to direct to you, George. And I just got off the phone with my brother from another mother, the electrifying Mojo, and he said to convey his salutations to you. Thank you for, not only the years of friendship, but for everything you've done for him, and just to say what it is.
I talked to him yesterday, and I'm going to talk to him tonight after we finish this. Thanks.
Okay. Pat Lewis.
Yes.
I saw a TV special many years ago where Isaac Hayes introduced the band and the backup singers. And when it came time to introduce the singers, I said, well, this is hot, this is buttered, this is soul. Which one were you? Were you hot buttered or soul?
Soul, honey.
My money was on hot or buttered.
See, I was a combination of hot, buttered, soul.
Yeah, we have another question over here.
For George, I noticed that Snoop Dogg posted a photo last night of you two hanging out. I just want to know what it's like when Snoop Dogg hangs out with the top dog. What goes on in the room?
But yeah, you're right. Whatever you was thinking. But Snoop reminded me when he did his first record, I did it with him, and I called him the pick up the litter. At that time, when he was real young, he's remembered that all these years, and I told him, well, now I'm calling him Uncle Snoop, because now he's old as I am. He's been around as long as I had at that point when I told him that. So we've been friends for a long time, and we do what friends do when they haven't seen each other. I leave that up to your imagination.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask George, Tamala Lewis, you won't say nothing. Can you tell Tamala Lewis, you won't say nothing? Whoa. Tell us about that.
That's, I love that record. That was the first product of, I know y'all read the book, what you call it, Counterfeit Money. That was the product of some counterfeit money we ran into in the 60s. And we cut that record. It was the first time I had the money to pay for a session. And I actually did that session and a couple of more. You Won't Say Nothing with Vivian Lewis. Her name is Vivian Lewis. Tamala Lewis. She's Tracy's mother. That's still in the group with us now. That's his mother. And the very first record that I actually cut as a record and not a demo for Sidney. Matter of fact, that's the record that got us signed to Joe Beck.
Well, yeah, but all your stuff, any of your stuff would have got you signed to Joe Beck. But the first thing that I heard that you had produced, I said, man, this is so different. I gotta be with this cat. I can't do stuff with him. So that's how I made up my mind I was gonna be your partner. Cause that was so different, man. I was gonna be with you forever after I heard you was that different. Cause everybody I was working with was just like everybody else. And I wasn't. And you wasn't.
I remember another girl that I had with me that ended up with Sidney. What was her name?
Jean. Yeah, Jean Carter.
Jean Carter.
Next question.
That was another artist that that's another reason we can stay tight.
That's right. That was cool. Thank you.
We got another question.
This is not a question. This is a statement. You're the gentleman I was talking about that I met years ago at Lewis Theater. And you know what? You came up to me, you approached me, Mr. Clinton. And you know what? You was as gracious then. This is more than 30 years. And it's a pleasure then as it was now just to listen to you, my brother. I want to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton. I have a question over here.
Mr. Clinton, the Brides of Funkinson. What can you tell me about the Brides of Funkinson?
We was with Casablanca at the time. Neil Bogart wanted a girl group. So my first thing, still trying to be funky, I went straight to the Brides of Funkenstein. And that was a little dark for him at the time. But we had cut the record. You know, I was on the road, so I wouldn't wait for the record to sign up. I cut the record first. And when I make a deal, I already have the record. So I went on to cut the Brides. He didn't necessarily like that name. I didn't want to change the group name. So I ended up getting Parlette, which was more commercial for what Neil was doing. But I still had a record by the Brides of Funkenstein, which was Don Silver and Lynn Mabry, who had just left Sly. They were Sly backup singers. And that became the Brides of Funkenstein. They had Parlette on there. All of them were background singers in the studio along with Pat. You know, but that was, my thing is, anybody that works with you, most of them have an ambition to be on the road or be a singer or entertainer. So I try to record everybody around. I recorded the lawyers, the roadies. I recorded and we was on such a roll, I think that the industry got scared of us about. We were recording everybody.
Right, any more questions? Because we're nearly, Mr. Austin over here in front. Because I know we run a bit longer than we're going to do.
Out of all of the artists you've worked with, from the days of Parliaments to your more funkier incarnations, who is the one artist you thought for sure was going to make it huge that didn't? Like, who is the one sure thing that, for whatever reason, didn't happen?
A guy called Roy Handy. Maybe that's a groove. and Accidental Love. He was such a sharp dude, young dude, about 18 years old, right when we got started. And I mean, girl just fell out on him soon he walked on stage. He was like Chuck Jackson, you know, those tall, slender guys. He never got the chance to get it out there. He never got those two records, Accidental Love and Maybe That's a Groove. It's one of the Northern Soul favorites.
Yeah, George. What, George? Oh, sorry about that.
That was Fantastic Four. Girl Have Gene Red wrote this album. Girl Have Pity. We did that for Fantastic Four. Ooh, Girl Have Pity. I can't remember that one. Yeah, Girl Have Pity. I've seen that one on the Northern Soul thing too.
Flip side.
Yeah.
George, just going back to the 70s when P-Funk took off. In England, we had the start, well, the heyday of the Northern Soul scene. So you had the P-Funk thing going on, and there's this underground scene in England. A lot of the Detroit records, ones you Sidney made, Pat, they were loved and worshipped. Were you aware that there was an interest in your old Detroit recordings, or were you just trying to land your mothership? Or
No, like I said, I kept my eye on that because like Nancy Lewis, I saw what they had done with track records, and just prior to that with the R&B music from the early 60s, they had collected records the same way as the new collection of Northern Soul. They had done that in London with all the old R&B music. So I knew that what we were doing wasn't going to even be ready for people for 25 years. That's the way I looked at it. So I'm right on time. Time I get this old, there will still be some interest in us. I said, I'm going to be around when what happened to Muddy Waters and Lightning Hopkins and all them. I wanted to be around when that happened, because like Jimi Hendrix was doing the same thing they were doing, just louder. And I knew I would know what to do if I was still around, no matter what they're doing. When they started redoing this music, I can get my nose in there somewhere. So I've actually been waiting on y'all for a long time.
Okay, we have other questions. George, what an absolute pleasure. George, Pat, Sidney.
Whoa!
And this has been so enlightening for us. You know, this is a room full of your guys' fans. We love what you're doing now. We love what you're doing then. We adore what you're doing then. And it really is a golden world. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for watching PTV. Thanks for being positive. Make sure you go to georgeclin.com for the latest touring dates and support your Northern Soul artists. Pat Lewis, George Clinton, Sidney Barnes. Love me some PTV. I'm gonna make me a shirt like that. Somebody make me a shirt like that. Love me some PTV. I'll pay you. And in fact, Naked 87 make me a shirt like that. You fine. Thank you, Gail. The band will be in Vermont on Monday, so catch PTV then. Then I think we're in Detroit. No, I think we're in Washington, D.C. And then we're in New York and somewhere else. So stay tuned. And if you like the Chocolate City bag, you can go to georgeclin.com, select merchandise, or go to Vita and search George Clinton. record boxes, you guys. All these people are from London, and they hit every record store up in Detroit. They all have all these original 45s. Let's see your record.
You want a picture of me or the record?
A record.
Oh, don't bother me, mate. How disappointed am I? I thought it'd be me.
Let's see yours.
Oh, that's just JJ Ball, who hasn't come.
Can I have a photo with you?
You're going to take a photo of me. Look at it.
I got it. It's not live.
Can I have a photo with you, darling?
Okay.
Here. Have a more phone here. Come here.
Okay.
Pretend you love me.
I'm George's wife, so be careful.
Breathe in. Look sexy. Thank you.
Hi. Like you. You are wearing that. Thank you. I like your style. Thank you so much. Your name? Carlon. Carlon. Yes, ma'am. So you're in New York? No, Tallahassee. You have a card? No, ma'am. Contact? No. Email? GeorgeFlynn.com. GeorgeFlynn.com. Okay. Where y'all periscoping from? CPA is in the house. George is going to sign every record and every autograph. He never says no. Oh, baby. This is Bill. He putting everything together.
It's me, Mr. Detroit, a go-go. Sonny Honey.
The real deal. Support the Detroit go-go.